So, I know I haven't posted a video like this in a couple of weeks. And for good reasons too. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I, along with a bunch of other veterans, laid to rest 16 service members. All veterans, mind you. And I knew one of them quite well. He and I were part of the same veterans group. And it's been a hard couple of weeks, just trying to reevaluate some things. Guy was only 54 years old. The guy that I knew, 54 years old, died of COVID, and at least that's what was told to me. So it's been a hard couple of weeks. So that's why I've been kind of, I haven't posted a video like this. I'm gonna leave a link to my TikTok down in the description for everybody, so you can go check out the video, the two videos from that funeral, at least from the burial, from the gravesite actually. The 16 total were laid to rest in Veterans, Central Texas, or whatever it's called. It's called Veterans Cemetery. It's out in Killeen. It's a big military. Yeah, I think it was called Central Veterans Cemetery, if I remember the technical name for it. It's out in Killeen, Texas, on Fort Hood Street. It's one of our big cemeteries here, military cemeteries here in Texas. I did post two videos, two, if you don't include the third one that followed. I posted two videos that day. One of all the markers, and then the second one was of the flag being folded. Premature warning, it was windy that day, so just a heads up. Then the third video I posted on my TikTok was on the drive home. It was a little cloudy that day. It wasn't excessively cloudy that day, but there was some cloud cover and it had rained a little bit. And I got some really nice pictures of that. I'm not gonna, spoil that one for you. And the fourth one I posted that day was kind of a stat update, because that funeral took those burials took a lot out of me. I mean, a lot. And when I say a lot, you gotta understand, I don't go to bed. I usually, mind you, this one I was working as a valet. Most of the time on my days off from valeting, my overnight valet job, I wouldn't go to bed at night because my brain had gotten so used to it, being up all night and sleeping during the day. So that was my routine. Okay, because at that time I was on Korean time again. Because in Korea, it's, just because Korea's 14 hours ahead of us here in the States. And so our daytime is their night. And that's how I was working. I was working on, my nights were being my days. When the sun was out, that was my night. So while people were sleeping during between 9 and 7, for example, I was awake. So usually on my days off from work, I was staying up 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning because I just couldn't sleep, or I'll just stay up all night and sleep during the day. That night, it was a Tuesday, I remember it vividly. I was off that day. I went to the funeral, saw the burials, and I had to go. I had talked to a subcontractor who's a friend of mine, and I've been working with him for the last couple of weeks. I met up with him at another property that we were working on. You know, did what I had to do, and we all just, left from there. I got home around, and mind you, I was in Class B uniform, which, anyone who does not know what the Class B is, that's a short sleeve white shirt with all our pins and everything, white shirt underneath, and our blue slacks, our dark blue slacks, and our black dress shoes and black dress socks with the black belt with the golden tip, gold plated buckle and end tip. Class A's is almost similar. The only difference is instead of the short sleeve white dress shirt, we have the long sleeve dress shirt. We still have the white undershirt. But instead of the ribbons being on the long sleeve shirt, they're actually on our jacket. And so we have our jacket and a tie, and obviously the beret, with the jacket having all the pins and ribbons and nameplate and everything that goes with it. And our rank on our collars, if we're junior enlisted. That goes all the way from private, fuzzy, all the way to specialist, because corporals actually have the bars, their black I don't know the proper name for them, but they go on the flap on the shirts, both on the long sleeves and on the short sleeve. And then the jacket obviously has the rank sewn onto it as well, on the army jacket. But with that being said, I had to go home and change out of that and get some more clothes before I went over there. And I talked to the guy and I was like, hey, I'm heading back from Killeen from the funeral. I got to go home and change because I was quite tired of wearing those things. So I had to go home and change and actually load up my equipment. And mind you, I was in a rental vehicle, U-Haul pickup truck at the time. And so I had to, I had a trailer as well, so I had to attach the trailer and head out to the property. I got there, we did what we had to do, as I said, and I got home around 8:30, and I went to bed, and I went to sleep, and I was out of it by 9:30. I was fast asleep, which, if anybody knows me, I love to stay up at night and forever. And the next morning, I had to work at my valet job the following evening, and quite frankly, I was exhausted for no reason. I mean, I had slept from 9 o'clock Tuesday night till about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is very, very rare for me. For me to sleep more than 12 hours like that, I realized then that I was actually more out of it than I thought I was. I mean, I was just I was exhausted. And that night just was I honestly did not want to be at work that night. I really didn't. And that day I had actually put, the same day, Wednesday, I had posted my video, just the stat update video on my TikTok. And as I said, I'll leave a description out in my, I'll leave a link to my Instagrams and my TikTok and my Snapchat in my description for you, so you can add me up if you don't already have me on Snapchat, Instagram, and or TikTok. I'll leave those in the description for you so you can add me. So let me just get into depth of, the second, one of the other things I want to talk about. If you're feeling depressed, I'd rather listen to your problem than attend your fucking funeral. I told one of my best friends this. I told two of my best friends this. I honestly do not know how many more of those funerals, those military funerals, I can take. That was 16 that day. I have gone, and I'm only 23, mind you. I'm only 23 years old, and I've already gone to over 24 military funerals in my life. In 23 years, I've gone to over 24 military funerals, and memorials, to include that as well. From family, friends, from my dad, my friends that my dad knew, to my uncles. Both my uncles that passed away, they were both military. And then service members. 3 of them. I had 4 in a matter of a year. One happened in November 2017. The other one happened the same month the following year. And three of them, the 3 in November 2018, were all memorials. And the one in 2017 was the actual funeral. And I actually had to attend that one because I was one of the pallbearers for that funeral. And there's a friggin' spider on my patio. That son of a bitch is about to die. But it took a lot out of me. And I was talking to one of the other guys that attended the funeral. I had called him because I had some information for him, but he wasn't answering his phone. I was like, okay, he's probably doing something. He doesn't have his phone on him. He called me back a couple hours later and he was like, yeah, I noticed you had called me. I was asleep. I was like, you feeling okay? He's like, yeah, that funeral took a lot out of me. And I know this gentleman. And for him to say something like that, I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm not the only one who's exhausted from it. But, back to what I was saying, if you're feeling depressed, alone, sad, whatever, or you just need somebody to talk to, please, for the love of God, get a hold of me through Snapchat, Instagram, or TikTok, or leave me a comment and I'll get back, in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you. I'll talk to you and kind of figure out what's going on. Or if you don't want to talk to me, talk to one of your best friends. Because I've seen too much. 16 people laid to rest in one day, and you're having to deal with a lot of them. That takes a lot out of you, personally. I know it did for me, and I'm speaking from experience when I say that shit, because it took a lot out of me. If anybody actually, truly actually knows. Because that's my boyfriend. Literally, I didn't text him all day. And, which is very, very rare for me. I don't not text my boyfriend. I text him every single morning and tell him good morning. I text him good morning, and we're talking during the day. But that Tuesday, I did not text him. And he texted me the other day, a day or two later, Wednesday or Thursday. He was like, hey, you okay, babe? And we were talking, yada, yada, yada. And I told him, no, I'm not doing okay. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, don't you find it a little odd? I was like, I text you every morning, right? He was like, yeah. I'm like, don't you find it a little weird that I didn't text you Tuesday morning? Of course I'm not okay. If I don't text you in the mornings like I always do, there's something wrong. Because I always text you. I literally texted him this morning. as I always do, because that's just part of what I do. Because I text him with like, hey, I love you, good morning, my babe. I tell him good morning, babe, yada yada yada, whatever whatever else I say. So like, and that's one of the first things I do when I wake up in the mornings. Because that's just a part of my daily. I won't say ritual. It's just a part of my daily routine, really. That I text him and say, hey, good morning, yada yada yada. I'm like, okay, because we've entered into a commitment, and that's the thing, is that I'm like, look, in my eyes, I'm like, we entered into a committed relationship here, and for me not to text you, there's some, that's just not right, especially if we're going to be dating each other. For me not to text you, that's not right, because, he's my partner, and it's, plain and simple. No, I'm going to go kill the spider. Hold on a second. This thing's pissing me off. To anyone out there, let me just tell you, I hate spiders. I'm terrified of them. And I'm literally like completely terrified of spiders. I don't know why. But to anyone out there that's feeling alone, depressed or whatever, let me tell you something. You're not alone. You're really not. You're not alone. You're not walking this life. This thing we call. You're not going through this thing we call life alone. There are people out there that care about you and love you. But also, with that being said, I know people are suffering from, whatever ailments that are causing, in the way. But let me tell you something. And this took roughly, let's just say it took me a minute to realize this, even for myself. I had a real hard time loving myself. And I still do. I still find myself not truly loving myself for who I am. But I realized a couple of years ago, not too long ago, that I'm like, look, if I don't love myself, if I don't start loving myself for who I am, I'm not going to be able to have a good relationship. I'm not going to have a good relationship. I'm not going to have a good life. I'm going to be miserable, whatever. So, and I realized I had actually gone on a trip. I had a day trip, this mind you. Into West Texas, to my old hometown, or Southwest Texas, and I had left before the sun was not even coming up yet. I left the house. Mind you, this back when I was in transitional housing. I had left before the sun came up, and it was still fucking dark. I had loaded up what I needed for the day. The day before, I loaded up my car, and I moved it out of the parking spot that I was in, and I positioned it where I could, just walk out the door real quick, jump in my car, open and then open the gate, manually open the gate when I pulled up to it, pulled out and shut the gate before I left. And that's exactly what it. 5:30, 5 o'clock in the bloody, 5:15 in the morning, I get in my car, I jump in my car, and I go to Starbucks, as I always do before these long trips, and I got there around 5:30, which is when they open. Actually, I got there a little bit before 5:30. And I sat in my car and waited till they opened up. I got my caramel frappuccino venti with my breakfast sandwich that I always got them, because I always got them together. And the thing is, I know one of the morning staffs, one of the morning ladies, one of the morning baristas. And so as I was waiting on my drink, she and I were, talking, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, what are you doing today? And I was like, oh, I'm heading out to Bald Hometown. I'm out in Southwest Texas, day tripping, so I need to stop by to get my coffee. She's like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I was like, yeah, we'll see. She hands me my sandwich, I go get my drink. And so I was like, I'll see you tomorrow morning, because, I constantly went to Starbucks every single morning, or just about every morning, for my coffee. And I, mainly to see her, because I always loved seeing this one lady, because she always had a big old smile on her face, and, when she saw me, I just loved talking to her. And so I got back in my car, stopped by the gas station, filled up my car, yada, yada, yada. Went inside, got some more dips and water. And I left. I hit 35 southbound to San Antonio. And by this time, it was already 6 o'clock. And if anybody living in Austin, and you want to go to San Antonio, you better leave before 6:30. Or roughly before 6:15. Okay? Here's the reason. People start moving in San Antonio around 7. Or actually around 7:30. Okay? So if you leave Austin, Texas before 7:30, after 6:30, you're screwing yourself, okay? Because you're going to hit traffic. Every single time you are going to hit traffic, the rush hour in San Antonio is bad about traffic. And trust me, I know from experience. Okay, I lived out northwest of San Antonio. I was in the Southwest District of Texas. I lived out there, and all our doctors were in San Antonio at the time. Okay, I lived out there for 16, on the other side of San Antonio, out in Northern Uvalde, for 16 and a half years. Okay, I know San Antonio like the back of my freaking hand. You do not want to be hitting San Antonio after 7:30, or actually after 7:15. Because if you do, you're going to hit traffic. You're going to hit that early morning rush, and the early morning rush too, from people going to work or people leaving their night shift work. Their night jobs, okay? Every single time it is like clockwork, 5 days of bloody week. Okay, on the weekends it's not as bad, but still, if you're going to go through San Antonio between Monday and Friday, in the mornings, you do not want to leave your house out of Austin, Texas before 6:15. Okay, you have to leave at least by 6:15 so you can get to San Antonio, especially if you're going through San Antonio. You have to get through San Antonio before 7:30 because traffic will get bad. And so, I hit San Antonio around 7. Actually, about 7:15, I hit San Antonio. I was on the other side through Castroville by 8. By the time it was 7:30, I was already on the other side of San Antonio, almost close to. I was about halfway to Castroville. And I kept driving. I had to stop for gas on the way, and there's this mountainside, and it was actually during Thanksgiving. It was actually Thanksgiving Day. I had gone out to see my family. I'd gone out the 2 days, 2 days prior. No, wait a minute. No, take this back. I had actually gone out there Tuesday of the same week to see my brother and just, catch up with the family. And I'd drive back to back to Austin the same day. And I told him, I was like, I'll be back out here Thursday, as well, for, to spend time with y'all on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm like, okay, sweet, whatever. And so, mind you, this is Thanksgiving Day last year. And I drove out there. And, I had done some things around to help out. And I was like, I'm going to go climb the mountain real quick, which is right across the road from my cousin's property. And, mind you, and also that video is actually in my YouTube page. So go check that out. I can't remember the title, but I did post it last year, Thanksgiving Day. So go check that one out. It's the one of me climbing that mountainside. Mind you, I apologize for the view. I did not have my tripods The one that I have, the tripod I'm using is too small. I'm actually going to be buying a bigger one, the telescope tripod, for when I'm going out there, so I can actually, have a bigger tripod. And after I close out the video, yada yada yada, all that pretty stuff. In that video, you can actually see when I'm pointing towards the road, you can actually see this car sitting down there. It's a white vehicle, a white Ford. You really can't see the logo, make and model of it. But there's a white vehicle sitting down in front of this gate. That's my cousin's property, and the vehicle's mine. I went up there and I climbed that. It took me freaking forever. It took me like 45 minutes to get up to the top because I had forgotten how steep it was. And in the background, you could hear my brother. But I simply ignored him because of the sheer fact that I was in a bad position, so I really couldn't, turn around and, I knew it was him too. I knew it was him just by the sound of his voice. I got up there and I actually sat down, and that part wasn't in the video. And I sat down facing away from my vehicle, and you could actually see in the video the big open area of just trees. And I sat down and I turned on some music. And I brought myself back in and I started meditating, and I realized then, mind you, I'd already started accepting the fact that I needed to love myself a little bit more and yada yada yada, but I hadn't truly began to truly love myself for who I was as a gay person. Mind you, I'd accepted it, all that other stuff, but I wasn't truly loving myself for who I was. And when I came back down, I realized, I was like, you know what? And I noticed that I started loving myself, and ever since, I realized that. And with the point of what I'm saying is that if you're not, don't try to live by what other people are saying about you. Don't try to live by other people's standards, okay? Because here's the thing. You will never meet those goals. You will never fully reach those goals. If you're living by other people's standards, you'll never meet them, okay? You need to live by your own standards first before you can start living by other people's standards. Because if you're living by other people's standards, you're never going to get anywhere good, okay? Because other people's standards might not be the standards that you need, that you're looking for your life, okay? Because I was the same way, okay? I started living to where I was happy. And guess what? It was the best goddamn decision I ever freaking made, okay? Because I wouldn't have made it to where I am now if I was still living by other people's standards. I got a car. I got a landscaping company. I got an apartment. I got a partner. Okay, those 4 things. And by the way, I landed a major contract that I've been looking for 2.5 years. Those 5 things, if I was living by other people's standards, I wouldn't have fucking had them. I wouldn't have met them. I wouldn't have gotten to those standards. Okay, the standards that I need to achieve. Okay, because if I live by, let's say, my best friend's standard, his standards are going to be different than mine. Okay, my standards are a lot higher than might be his. Okay, my standards might be all the way up here. Okay, his standards might be right here. Okay. If I'm living by his standards, I wouldn't have been able to get my apartment, my car, my company, my everything that I've got now. Okay, this major contract that I've been looking for a year, nearly 3 years, just over 2, actually almost 3 years actually. I wouldn't have met that standard. Okay, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am now. So, with that being said, don't be trying to live by what other people, by other people's expectations for you. Because if you're living by other people's expectations for you, those expectations may not be the right expectations for you. They might not be the right ones, okay? Because those expectations that other people might have for you might be wrong, okay? Because other people's expectations are completely different than the expectations you need, okay? Because let's say you are wanting to find, okay, let's say you're gay, right? Like me, or lesbian. You know, let's say you're part of the LGBTQ community. But yet you're living by, let's say, your best friend's standards, okay? And your best friend's standards are different than yours. But yet at the same time, you're looking for your own standards, right? You think you're gonna meet your standards if you're living by your best friend John Doe's standards? No, you're not. You're not gonna meet those standards. You're not gonna achieve those standards, okay? Because John Doe's standards are completely different than yours. They don't have the right agenda for you because they don't live you. You have to live for you first stuff. You have to love you first. You have to love yourself first. You have to love yourself first. You have to live by your own standards first. Okay, because if you're not doing those things first, if you're not putting yourself first, you're not gonna get to where you need to be as a person quick enough. Okay, because if you're living by somebody else's expectations, you're gonna spend the rest of your life trying to fill this void in your life when you could have achieved it when you're in your 20s or your 30s. Okay? Especially if you're in your 20s, if you're living by somebody else's standards, you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to fulfill somebody else's standards for you. But if you achieve your own standards first when you're in your 20s, for example, in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, you're going to have a more productive and happy life than if you're trying to achieve somebody else's goals before you achieve yours. And if you're trying to achieve somebody else's goals when you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, you're going to be unhappy as fucking hell. Okay, and excuse my language here, but you're going to be unhappy. You're not going to be, mind you, you're going to be a productive member of society, but you're not going to be happy. And you're always going to be wondering, okay, like, why the hell am I not happy here? It's because you're trying to achieve something that is not meant for you. Those standards are not for you. Those standards are for somebody else. And I took a long time trying to figure that shit out. A long time. Okay, I spent the better part of 5 years, actually 4 years actually. I spent the better part of almost 4 years trying to figure out who the hell I was. Okay. The reason I say 4 years is because one of my best friends who I actually have fallen out of contact with, he kind of showed me that being okay in the military was okay. And that's when I kind of more or less came out of the closet and whatnot. But even then, I was still very, very unhappy with myself because I had been, shamed and, harassed for so long that I didn't know how to be, how to be happy. And as time progressed and I, distanced myself away from my family, my, biological family, and everything, as this further way I pushed myself away from them, the more and more I became happy. Because I realized when I finally got them out of my life, I became very, very happy. I was finally at peace. And mind you, when I did that, I had yet to disown them. I had not yet disowned them, which is actually in one of my previous videos as well, if you want to go check that one out. With that being said, at that time, before I disowned them, I was still, I was actually happier than I had ever been in my life. And I started achieving shit that I didn't realize I could achieve because I was being held down by what my parents were telling me. And because then, the constant shunning of them. And when I finally got rid of that, I was happy. I was truly actually fucking happy for the once in my freaking life. But then there are those times that my mother, of all people, gotta mind you, my mother really wasn't the homophobic person. It was more my father. But because of my father, my mother had to act like she hated me. Mainly solely because of my freaking father, because he hates my guts. He despises me. He hates me. He is very disgruntled with me. Excuse me. He's been unhappy with me since I was a child. He's been unhappy with me for a long, long time, and it didn't matter what I did or how I did shit. He was always unhappy. He was never really happy with what I did. He was never happy on how I accomplished shit. And he always told me, you ain't gonna amount to nothing, yada, yada, yada. He's like, yeah, you're gonna be like one of them wetbacks. He always called Hispanics wetbacks. I have never figured out why. I think it was mainly because he was prejudiced. He is prejudiced, for that matter. And he's like, oh, you always gonna wind up like one of them Mexican guys holding the fucking streets that ain't making shit. You ain't gonna be making more than $10 an hour. You're gonna be making $7 an hour for the rest of your freaking life. I was like, yeah, right. And and the thing was, when I worked for Goodwill, we would have to do the textile sites, which is the road crew guys. And I was like, this son of a bitch. And I knew my dad was bullshitting too, because I'm like, look, these guys are making more than, making $12, $13 an hour. They're making good money. Yeah, they might be in a beat up car, but why get a fancy looking car if you're going to be beating it up? And I started my company in 2019. I started doing it, and I don't know what time I got a hold of my father, and I was like, hey, remember when you told me I wasn't going to amount to shit? He's like, yes, I do. Because you never will. I was like, I started a company without you. Thank you very much. And I was like, I started a company. And this, that, and the third. And he was like, well, whatever. You're still a failure in my eyes. And looking back now, I landed a major contract with a subcontractor that, he's got a lot of work for me to do. I'm like, okay, if I was such a fucking failure, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I realized once I got rid of that, I was like, okay, this is where the thing that I needed to get rid of for so long. So my advice to everybody out there that's struggling with self-identity and self-love, one of the major things that you need to do, along with loving yourself and achieving your goals first, is also get rid of those toxic things or toxic people. The reason is that maybe you got toxic things and toxic people in your life that you need to get rid of. Okay, because if you're holding on to the past that's negative and all the negative things that maybe your parents said while you were growing up, that's going to affect your life. That's gonna bring you down. You're not gonna accomplish much, okay? Because you're always gonna be living in that shadow of negativity, that negative shadow, that hurting shadow that your parents laid onto you years ago. And that is not what you need to be living by. Because your parents' standard, as I said, it was stated earlier, let's say your parents' standard is not the standard that you need for your life, okay? Because their expectations are different than the expectations that you need for your life. The expectations that you need to accomplish personally are different than what you should be accomplishing. Okay, because they're two different things. Okay, like as a kid, your parents expect you to clean your room or whatever around the house. Okay, that's typical as you're growing up. But as an adult, if your parents are still telling you what to do when you're 23 or 25 years old, don't get me wrong. Parents' advice is nice when it's asked for, but if they're demanding stuff from you and they're expecting you to do what they want you to do, you're effing up, and big time too. You know what I mean? But so it's because you're still, as I said, you're still living by your parents' standards that are completely different from what the expectation that standard expectations you need to achieve in your life. So, with that being said, live mainly to achieve the standards that you need to achieve in your life, because your standards are what going to get you through your life, because your life is different from John Doe and Sarah Doe. Okay, because your life, you need to live your life the way that you see fit to live it. Because if you're living by somebody else's life or expectations of life via somebody else's eyes, you're not going to get nowhere. Okay, because my standard of life might be different from yours. Okay, from whoever's the people watching this. My standards of life are different from yours. Okay, because and I've said this once and I'll say it again. I enjoy the finer things in life. Okay, and some of you know exactly what I mean by that. I literally enjoy the finer things in life, like a nice bed, a nice table, a nice TV. I have a very a big taste in the finer things in life. I have a humongous taste. For anybody that knows me, they will know that I like the finer things in life, like nice clothes, nice linens, nice TVs, nice tables, nice everything. It has to be high-end stuff. I mean, not blowing off expensive, but still, it still has to have a good price tag, and it has to be nice, and I have to like it. Like, I'm not going to just buy a jacket for no dang reason. Matter of fact, I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so, mind you, this is one of my better jackets, okay? And the scarf, I bought an old sergeant gave this scarf to me, actually. But this is a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. But with the nice gloves as well. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And you know where I got this? A friend of one of my best friends in South Korea, when I was stationed up in South Korea, got it for me as a present. Okay, now mind you, I'm going to put this on for you. Mind you, and I even looked into this as well. And mind you, it's a Vane jacket, okay? I don't know if y'all can see that. Yeah, y'all can right there. But this is one of my finer jackets, okay? Now mind you, if you know me, you know that I have a black, similar color. It's a corduroy jacket. And I've worn that corduroy jacket under this, okay? Now, mind you, as I was saying, this jacket cost more than $300, people. Okay, you can't find this in the U.S. I mean, you can, but it's not gonna be a good quality. And the thing is, this is one of my finer jackets. And mind you, I fucking love this jacket. And it still smells in South Korea too, for that matter. But, this goes to what I'm saying, is that this is one of my finer jackets. Okay? Along with one of my favorite scarves, okay? Which needs to be like this, actually. But as I was saying, this is one of the finer things that I have. Now, I would not have achieved these type of, these types of clothes if I was still living by, let's say, my father's standards. Because my father's standards were different than his. Because, mind you, my ex-father, the reason I say ex-father, if you know my past, you know that I disowned my parents. And one of my previous videos actually touches on that subject. That very, freaking topic. I mean, disowning my parents. Um, but if y'all know me, y'all know that my father is a depression baby, meaning that he was, he was born in the 30s during, the Great Bloody Depression, September of 33, and matter of fact, his birthday was just about a month and a half ago. And you think I wish him happy birthday? Oh, hell to the fuck no. But, back to what I was saying is that for a long time, I was trying to live by my father's standards, my father's expectations. But no matter what I did, it never seemed to be good enough. It never seemed to accomplish anything. And that's part of what I was going back to earlier, is that I never, for some reason, never seemed to accomplish my dad's goals. Because his goals were different than mine. Okay, he wanted me to do things his way. Okay, and it never fucking worked. I mean, it did sometimes, but very, very rarely. Once in about 100 times did it ever work. But, now mind you, there were some things that I learned from him that, how to change a tire, how to back up a car into a, pull it, back a trailer up, how to back a car up onto a trailer with nothing but mirrors. How to, change your oil and stuff like that. The essential stuff. But there was a lot of things that my dad expected that just were merely freaking impossible for a 10-year-old kid to do. Much less a fucking adult. But, with that being said, stop trying to live by other people's goddamn standards. Because if you're trying to live by other people's standards, you're not going to get nowhere. I mean, you're going to get somewhere, but you ain't going to get nowhere fast. You're not going to get anywhere good. You're not going to have the fulfilling life that you need to live if you're living by, let's say, daddy's standards. Okay, you're not going to get nowhere. I mean, you're going to get somewhere, but you ain't going to get nowhere good. So, remember that achieve your goals first before you go trying to achieve somebody else's goals for you. Because if you're trying to achieve somebody else's goals for you, it ain't going to end good. I can tell you that much. It ain't going to end good for you. I mean, 1 in a million times will it end good for anybody. And that's very, very rare for it to end good for anybody. So, yeah, with that being said, live. So, I want y'all to tell you a couple of things from this, okay? One, if you're feeling depressed, whatever, depressed, alone, reach out to me through TikTok, Instagram, or Snapchat, or all three, or leave me a comment down below with your Snapchat, and I'll add you up. 2, stop living by somebody else's goals and standards, because they ain't gonna go nowhere. 3, one of the bigger points, love yourself. Start loving yourself and truly understanding how to love yourself, okay? Because that's one of the quickest ways to achieve something. If you start loving yourself first. Let's see, it was, okay, so that depression, talk to me, achieve, don't be achieving somebody else's goals, love yourself, and one of the other things I want to mention, to remember, for everybody to remember, achieve your goals first. First and foremost, achieve your goals first. If you got a goal and you got a dream, go for it. Go achieve it. Don't let nothing get in your damn way. And 5, get rid of anything or anybody that is a toxic entity in your life. If you got somebody that's toxic in your life, let me rephrase this. If you got something, I need y'all to start evaluating some things, like friendships, relationships with friends, or, your past, or your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend, or whatever. If you got those toxic friends, cut them out of your life. If you got a toxic memory of an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, cut that out of your life. So, you take a look at things, at everything that is important or whatever, or however you want to classify it, and start evaluating like, okay, what's toxic and what is not toxic. If it is not toxic, do not cut it out. Leave it alone. But if it is toxic, get it out of here. Okay, because what it's going to do is going to cause drama. It's going to cause, hurting. You're not going to heal if you're not letting those toxic things leave. Okay? And, because I know for a fact that just the other night I actually did that, and I'm not going to say what I took to help with this, but the other night I turned on some medication, turned on some meditation music, and as you know, it's screwed. It was Delta 8, I think it was. One hell of a powerful drug, I can tell you that. I don't know what the fuck was in it. But I took it, and it's a Delta 8 gummy. And I took one, and I turned on my meditation music. After, mind you, I had taken a soaking bath to help relax me, and that's when I noticed it was taking effect. And mind you, I do not recommend this to anybody. Mind you, this is just my personal experience. I mean, if you want to try it, go ahead, but it's completely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're all, got minds of your own, so you can do what you like. You probably don't like being told what to do like me. But, I get in bed, have my meditation music playing, and as I'm drifting off to sleep, I just started noticing every time that I breathe in and breathe out. You know the feeling when y'all get goosebumps? Just imagine those going flying off. And I just felt like this negativity just was getting like sucked out of me in a way. I really can't explain it other than that. I mean, it felt like the negative atoms and negative molecules and particles were just getting, every time that I breathed out, were just getting shoved away and being kicked out. And I'm talking head to toe. And I noticed also is that my anger issue, because mind you, if you know me well enough, you know that I got an anger issue and a pride issue. The two biggest problems I got is my anger and my pride. And I get my pride from my parent, from being, my mother's bloody Irish, and so that makes me half Irish. So, that I get my pride from my mother and a little bit from my father, and I get my anger from being a Texan, because Texans are, for some reason, angry all the damn time. Maybe it's because I'm short, I don't know. So I get called the little angry Texas midget, the angry Texas midget or something like that. But I kind of felt all that anger just poof, poof, literally, it just disappeared. I mean, not disappeared, mind you. That was one of the things I had to conquer while I was in the Army, and along with my pride issue. But, yeah. So remember, let go of all negative, or toxic and or toxic and negative things and people that are in your life. If you're feeling depressed, alone, whatever, add me up on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. I'll follow you back and just let me know, like, hey, this is going on, or leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. Don't be living by somebody else's standards. That goes into point 4, live by your standards and nobody else's. 5, accomplish your dreams, because I know everybody's got dreams. Trust me, I had dreams once and I accomplished them. Okay, so yeah. And as I said, I'll leave my Snapchat, Instagram, and all that in the description below for you. Leave a like, leave a comment. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help boost this channel. It also lets me know that, like, hey, people actually want to, it helps me want to put more and more content out there. videos like this and whatever. And also, if you got suggestions for videos in the future, as like in the last two videos, the working videos that I just posted in this past week, if you want to see more of those getting posted, please leave a comment down below. Or if you want to see more of these types of videos, please, as I said, leave a comment down below as well. Like, hey, and also I want to take a poll on which one is your favorite. This type of video that I'm doing now, are the two videos that I posted this past week, and whichever one gets the most likes or gets the most opinions, that's the one that I'm going to post more and more of that category. Or if y'all would like, also there's actually going to be 3 categories, okay? Actually 4. The day of the life video, if y'all want to see another one of those. The working videos that y'all saw this in the last 2 videos I posted, videos like this, the kind of I like to call it, the TED Talk videos, if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it out. It's just Dan Talk videos actually. Or if you want to see the video from another similar video like the one from last year of me climbing that mountainside, if you'd like to see one something similar to that, or another video of that same category, I will gladly post it. If you actually want to see a better video of that one, please let me know, and I will actually do my best to go out there again and actually film that again for y'all. Actually film a better video of me actually starting it, because that video I started it when I was actually about a quarter way up, or about a quarter to halfway up. So if you'd actually like to see a better video of that, or a revised video, let me know. From and when I say revised, from beginning to literal, from the time that I start climbing, or when I start the process to the time that I reach the top. If you'd like to see a similar video of me doing that, let me know, so that I can actually refilm that video and actually post that on here. And and as I said, I will do my best to do that. So yeah, be awesome, be great.